Pubco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. Press Row is brought to you by Cox High-Speed Internet. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell, and it's time for our weekly Inbox segment where we take your email questions and try to answer them. Hey, you could email us, and we'll see if we can get your question on next week. Just shoot us an email, and who knows, you might be on. All right, let's go right to the inbox, Barry. This first question comes from Randy. Randy asks, if Denver were to win the Super Bowl, would it be the biggest sports story of the last 2,000 years?
Well, I mean, why are you putting the qualifier of 2000? You want to eliminate the Athens games or something, the original Olympics? The answer might be yes. If Tim Tebow wins the Super Bowl, it might be bigger than anything. It might be bigger than Miracle on Ice. It might be bigger than Tiger Woods' rise and fall. It might be bigger than anything we've ever seen. Babe Ruth, the Red Sox, Yankees, whatever. It's an amazing thing. As much as I don't want to be a skeptic on Tim Tebow, I don't think he's going to win the Super Bowl. But I tell you what, the evidence is mounting that something special is going on in Denver.
Yeah, is anything out of the question at this point with Tim Tebow? I mean, my goodness. Barry and I were in Dallas for the Cowboys-Giants game and watched the end of that Broncos game this last weekend, and it was almost like a foregone conclusion. They're coming back. Of course they're going to win this game. That's what Tim Tebow has brought to this Broncos team. Barry, it's unbelievable. Really is unbelievable what he's brought to that team. And I'm not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl because the Packers are out there, but what would be a surprise at this point with Tebow? I don't think anything would be a surprise.
Nothing, and here's what to remember. The AFC's wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, there's New England is strong, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, but it's not like you got a runaway favorite. Crazier things probably haven't happened, but I'm not writing off Tim Tebow.
You dubbed him God's quarterback, for goodness
That
sakes.
was the headline writer. I didn't call him God's quarterback.
Okay.
That was the headline
writer. It did have a question mark on it. I'll give you that.
Yes.
All right, back to the inbox. This question comes...
I think God's quarterback could actually pass better than Tim Tebow.
Better arm. All right, back to the inbox. Clay says, should someone write an injury list from the last 5 or 6 years on OU players in the NFL that have been injured? I think every former Sooner has been hurt. DeMarco Murray is the latest casualty. Barry brings up a great point. Lots of injuries in former Sooners.
There are, but I will say this. I think if you took any school in America and made the list of their players, you'd see a bunch of injuries. Yeah. Here's what happens in the NFL. People get hurt. It's a brutal, brutal sport. Look at Arkansas. Felix Jones. Why did DeMarco Murray get to play? Because Felix Jones got hurt. Yeah. Miles Austin got hurt. He didn't play at Oklahoma. So lots of guys get hurt. I personally don't see I don't see a trend there, but there are a bunch of Sooners. You look at Sammy B's hurt. Yeah. Gerald McCoy's out for the year. Lots of guys getting knocked out.
Yeah, but you're right. It does happen with every school. It just does seem like that the Sooners have been a little bit snake bit with their NFL guys. And boy, DeMarco Murray was having a heck of a season coming on late. It probably wasn't going to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but guys like Andy Dalton and obviously Cam Newton leading that. But had he had a big game on that Sunday night, Barry, you brought up that point, he could have gotten into the conversation. If he gets Felix Jones yards, he might have been in the conversation.
Well, Jones ran wild against the Giants, but before DeMarco got hurt, he had 5 carries, 25 yards. He was off to an excellent start. So it's very, very disappointing for DeMarco Murray.
Definitely. All right, back to the inbox. This one comes to us from Craig. Craig says, wasn't Mark Cuban the one yelling the loudest about the Lakers, Hornets, Rockets trade? And the Mavs end up getting Lamar Odom. What about that, Barry?
Yeah, funny stuff in the NBA. Who would have ever thought?
Wacky goings on. I know this is a big surprise.
Here's what happens in the NBA. The rich get richer. That's the way it's set up. If the rich don't get richer, the rich go get mad and get a new commissioner. That's the way it works out. So the rich get richer. It is a little funny that Mark Cuban was upset about that Laker trade, and I think Craig's got a good point. I think it probably was a deal where Cuban thought, I'm going to be able to get Lamar Odom. All of a sudden he wasn't. He didn't like it. Some people stand on principle. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert, what a goober head. He's at least standing on principle. He's not involved in any of it. He's just saying,
I don't believe in
somebody
this.
do something. This is madness. But since we've seen that trade, we've seen CP3 go to the Clippers. Yeah. It's just a mess. The migration of superstars is a plague upon the NBA. and it's not getting fixed in the next 5-10 years.
Well, and we thought that was going to be one of the big reasons that they went to this lockout, was to get that fixed. When obviously the big three end up in Miami and guys are determining where they want to go, then you saw the migration of guys to the Knicks, Amari Stoudemire being joined by Carmelo Anthony. There was talk that Chris Paul might eventually end up there, these super teams being built. You thought coming out of the lockout, Barry, this would be fixed. And instead, the first thing we see is the attempt at the super teams again. I don't think it got fixed at all.
Didn't get fixed at all. And you know what it's done? It has made Oklahoma City the patron saint of 25 franchises. The
Washington General franchise.
The Thunder has a chance. The Thunder has a chance to contend, and everybody in places like New Orleans and Milwaukee and Cleveland and Orlando and Charlotte and Portland. Everywhere they're pulling for the Thunder to beat these super teams.
All right, back to the inbox one more time. This one comes from Dell. Dell says, after the Queen City melee we saw on Saturday, are you still convinced that Cincinnati and Louisville are right for the Big 12? Perhaps Houston and UNLV would be a better inner city Big 12 fits than the Ohio Valley Bangers. Obviously talking about that Cincinnati-Xavier fight, the Queen City melee.
But now why is he throwing Louisville under the bus? Louisville was off playing somebody else. They had nothing to do with that. They were innocent bystanders.
Rick Pitino's saying, wait a second, what's going on here?
I'm on record as saying I support Louisville and Cincinnati in the Big 12. Particularly Louisville, then I think Cincinnati would be a good fit. But this brawl doesn't do anything for their candidacy.
No.
I mean, if you're a president at Iowa State or Baylor or Tech or OSU or Texas or anywhere, and you're looking at that and you say, why do I want that in my league? I don't want people that behave that way. Others say it's no big deal. I think it is a big deal. I think it does hurt Cincinnati. It's a long shot to get Cincinnati anyway. They've got good football, but a small football fan base. Their profile in athletics is not huge. It's a good market, big market. I think it could grow and be beneficial for the Big 12, but this is a bad sign.
Yeah, if Cincinnati really wanted to make a strong push to get into the Big 12, and you have to think the way conference realignment's going, everybody's looking for something bigger and better and maybe more stable. The Big 12 has survived all this time. Surely Cincinnati has to think the Big 12's not going anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere yet. But this is one of those things that if the Big 12 calls them, they're going to have to explain what in the world happened and how they're going to keep this from happening again. Nobody wants to see brawls on the court or anywhere, but that was ugly, Barry. You don't want to see that anywhere.
No doubt about it. And as far as Houston and UNLV, you can make a good case for Houston. I mean, Houston's an intriguing prospect. Vegas, no chance, no interest there.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Press Row. And be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.